everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on. Um, this is going to be one of those episodes I might need a shot after the episode is over. Um, we've got some things to talk about. Going to do it a little bit differently tonight. I'm going to talk about very few things, and I'm going to go through a lot of the stories with Chris, and we're going to obviously add some commentary as we go along. So it's going to be just a little bit different in that we're going to have some stories on the screen as part of our conversation instead of just the two of us. And it's because there's some things that uh, are of extreme importance, in my opinion. And so stick around if you would. Hit the like button. Let people know the show's on that like to watch live. And if you're watching at your convenience, thank you so very much for taking the time to do so. And we're not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get going. And once again, good evening. If you're just joining us, it is Doofus After Dark. Chris comes up here beginning at 9 p.m., and we've got a lot to talk about. I want to share some things with you before we get Chris up here. And I want to begin with Taiwan. This is China, as you can see. And up here is South Korea, North Korea. Over here is Japan. The reason I'm showing you all of these is um, North Korea is going to factor in to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Um, Taiwan is going to factor in. Japan is going to factor in, and obviously China will factor in. At the moment, um, probably 2, 3 hours ago now, China announced that it was beginning an unannounced military exercise around the island of Taiwan. Um, I told you, if you those watching the show, I've told you that we watched the Taiwan or the Chinese aircraft carrier go out into East China Sea and circle back around behind Taiwan. We've talked about the tanks being moved to the nearest port, which is right here. Um, Battle lines are being drawn, pieces are being put into place, and I just wanted to kind of give you those that don't see maps all the time, and you hear all these countries, you may not have any idea where they're at and what we're talking about. So here's Taiwan. You've heard it mentioned a lot. It wants to be an independent country. China has said it is part of China. Um, South Korea, of course, we know. North Korea right above. Hostilities and tensions always between these two, and they've just been ratcheted up even more. Japan right out here. Um, so when you hear, you know, in the past, I've talked about North Korea conducting missile launches and falling into the Sea of Japan, and sometimes Japanese islands getting people on some of the Japanese islands getting emergency notices that there were incoming missiles. So that gives you an idea of the proximity of where all these are. Again, this is Taiwan right here, not marked at the moment. Then, as we span out even further, the Philippines, here's Vietnam, the unified country of Vietnam, and we span out just a little bit more, and there's Australia. So, um, this is basically the Indo-Pacific um, region, as you'll hear it referred to as things begin to heat up, and unfortunately, things are indeed going to heat up. We've got a lot of indicators, and again, that's why I'm going to bring Chris on and do some of the stories with Chris. Um, I'm going to touch on a couple of political stories of potential national interest here before we get Chris up. This comes from Fox News 3 hours ago. Hakeem Jeffries rejects squad members' ethnic cleansing claim, saying that Israel is not engaged in genocide. Um, we're going to talk about this, but there's there are battle lines being drawn, including politically within the United States. So that's why tonight's episode's titled the way it is. Um, oh, shoot, my bad. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. Um, Again, we're doing a couple of political stories here before we get Chris up. Not that we're not going to be talking a little politics in there as well, but um, GOP lawmaker blasts his fellow Republicans, vowing he won't seek re-election, saying that the Republicans have been and are lying to America. This comes from USA Today, and it's Ken Buck from Colorado, and you probably recognize that name. He was we tossed around that he was considering running for Speaker of the House. I think he even tossed his name in um, when the time came. But he said his fellow Republicans too often lying to America, being fixated on retribution and vengeance. Um, so, as always, just something to think about. Speaking of the Republican Party, Republicans in Florida are saying Ron DeSantis should end his presidential run and focus on being the Fargan governor of Florida. Um, I don't see anything wrong with them suggesting that, and I think that might benefit the country a little bit if he were to do that. What it would do to Florida necessarily, but I found out Florida has pygmy rattlesnakes. Okay, I'm not going to get on a giant tangent on this or anything, but I found out today. Actually, I learned today that Florida has something called pygmy rattlesnakes, and what they are, they're just smaller. They're just smaller rattlesnakes, and they don't have a rattle, so you don't hear them um, when they're ready to bite you. Okay, I think that I've got one more political thing here. Now, this really isn't news because I told you this was coming 3 days ago that we learned Biden had sent the War Powers Act to Congress, and it's worth repeating. It's worth verifying that what I was saying was true, and it's worth repeating because again, what this means is he's letting Congress know that he's not coming to them to get a declaration of war against any one country, at least at this point. He is letting them know that he plans to utilize the military and the defense budget spending um, with um, with everything other than declaration of war. Okay, we haven't been in a declared war in a quite a long time. Now, a country did declare, or not a country, a group in a country declared war against Israel. We'll touch on that when Chris is with us as well. And let me see. No, I don't. That's my email. I don't want to. I don't want to share that, and I don't want to share this. I get about 3 minutes. What we will do is um, we'll start on. Hold on. Where'd I go? Here we go. Um, we will start on the X File scroll, X formerly known as our scroll of bookmark posts. Friday, 3 p.m. Lebanon time. The leader of Hezbollah will be making a highly anticipated speech. Um, According to Vorpost, Hezbollah and Iran have threatened that if the war does not end by dawn on Friday, the axis of resistance will be the side that directs in the war, as well as Hezbollah. Um, Again, this is unconfirmed. Hezbollah will join the war. Um, will that be the case? I don't know. But they generally, I'm just saying, generally, not even generally, I'm going to tell you, they do not make statements like this lightly. They do not make statements like this um, without having already thought through and without knowledge of what they are going to do. Now, this does not mean at dawn on Friday there's going to be a massive attack on Israel. Okay, when we talked about the day of jihad, when jihad was called, um, the day of rage, we we told you that once that call for jihad came down, that it wasn't like immediately everything was going to just burst into flames. Um, there have been plans going on. There have been rehearsals going on. They don't just go off half cocked. All right, they rehearse, they plan. the the raid by Hamas onto Israel, October the 7th, had been rehearsed. It had been planned. It had been orchestrated. You don't just go, "Hey, how about we get us a paraglider, and I'll guide it, and you shoot people from it, and the two of us will go." No, you have to plan these things. So, um, the dawn on Friday is another one of these red lines. Um, we already had one that if they go into Gaza, then expect everybody in the Muslim world to get involved. And just because it hadn't been declared doesn't mean that's going to happen. But that's what we know as of right now. Hezbollah and Iran have threatened that if the war does not end by dawn on Friday, the axis of resistance will we'll be making an what was his exact words? Hold on. Oh, come on. Hang on, please. There we go. The axis of resistance will be the side directly intervenes in the war, as well as Hezbollah. Um, the axis of resistance: Lebanon's Hezbollah, Hamas, Yemen's Houthis, Syria. So it's not a and the Iraqi Shia militias. If this news is true, this would be the most concerning development since October 7th. So, again, this is unconfirmed, but This isn't the only place I've seen it, or I wouldn't be putting it up here. Um, and by the way, we do that. Chris and I talk back and forth, and there are things we talk about that haven't been confirmed, or we feel comfortable talking about. So I hope you um, I hope you take what we're going to be saying seriously. I honestly do, because I believe it's worthy. Um, Houthis released videos of missile and drone attacks on Israel, a day after declaring war. Again, I talked about a group declaring war on Israel earlier on. This is the group, the Houthis from Yemen, and this came in 14 hours ago. And this is not your um, Sheldon Cooper, Big Bang Theory, let's build a rocket and launch it. This is obviously a fairly technical weapon. Um, at least it appears so to me. We'll let Chris talk about this a little bit when he comes on. Um, but again, this came from Yemen's Houthis, and they've released a missile and a drone attack on Israel. That was 14 hours ago, and they say it has been successful. Um, Supposedly, Hamas has a new submarine drone weapon. Where could that have come from? North Korea, China, Russia, um, through Iran. Hamas Asaf armored underwater vehicle. Um, is this why the Gerald R. Ford was moved from the coasts of Lebanon and Israel back up to still in striking range with its planes, but yet not in target range from something like this? Um, okay, Jewish students at Harvard surrounded by anti Israel protesters, and they get cornered when trying to get away. Um, this is obviously on X. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but it gets heated and turns into kind of a free for all. Israeli troops, armored vehicles storming the city of Jenin in the West Bank once again tonight. That came in last night, and 21 hours ago, 21-year-old Patrick Dye, 21, a junior at Cornell University, has been caught sending death threats to Jewish students at his school. He was caught after an investigation by the Joint Terrorism Task Force and will now face charges in federal court. Um, Footage from yesterday's meeting. Putin is here in the back. There are shots of him taking his watch off because he had it on the wrong arm, or was it an imposter, or all of that kind of stuff. Um, but he was indeed at the meeting with all of his subordinates. So that puts that to rest, at least for the moment. Okay, here is from War Mapper. Here is here is Israel's advances into Gaza as far as territory. Here is the border, and here is how far the incursion has taken so far from the north, from the central, where we've been seeing most of our footage. Um, this is how far they are basically cutting Gaza in half, and going to take the north half first, and then work on the south, hoping to eliminate as many potential fighters in the north, and keep them from escaping to the south by holding all of this territory. That's what I think the plan obviously is, but could be different. But that's what I think's going on here. Um, so that gives you a little bit of an idea map wise. And this is from Hang on just a second. Oh, never mind. I think, never mind. And this gives you an idea, and this kind of gives you an idea from an actual land as far as territory wise. Um, so that's what I think this shows. I think this shows that Israel is cutting Gaza in half, and they're probably at the ocean. They're probably at the Mediterranean by now, um, because I think this came out a few hours ago. Let's see. Um, this came out yesterday, so I would venture to say they probably have already made it to the coastline here, and we'll just fill this area in with blue from top and bottom at the same time, squeezing as many fighters as they can into the middle. So again, here give you a little bit better idea of a close up. This is over here again. This was yesterday, so I'm assuming they've already made it to the coast. I would say, and they've come down the coast here, and they've come in from up here as well. So that gives you an idea um, how Israel is progressing with their occupation and holding of the strip known as Gaza. Okay, um, this is going to be concerning. On to some British police come to a man's home to arrest him for posting a video to Facebook of him criticizing migrants in his area for putting Palestinian flags up everywhere in the neighborhood. Hold on just a second here. Okay, all right, I got him. Hang on. I'm trying to do too many things at once. All right. Chris, are you there? Chris, are you there? Hang on. Let me try this again. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, Barry, can you hear me?
I got you, man. I got you. Okay.
Okay.
This is a great spot for you to come in. Um, the British police come to a man's home to arrest him for posting a video to Facebook of him criticizing migrants in his area for putting Palestinian flags up everywhere in the neighborhood. Uh, the video he was arrested for will be posted in the comments. So in Britain, if you post something criticizing Palestinian flags, um, the cops are going to come to your door.
Seems pretty discriminatory, right?
It
So,
does.
so if I were to put up an Israeli flag, would they do the same thing?
Would they come to your door and demand you to take it down, or come to your door
Exactly.
and arrest you because it's an Israeli flag?
Exactly. So if they wouldn't do it, if they're not going to do that to you, uh, if it's an Israeli flag, but you put a Palestinian flag up, then that's automatically discriminatory. You see.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that it is showing a bias already. You see.
Yeah,
So
and this is exactly what we've been talking about, that Europe has enough problems with Putin potentially coming from Russia in the east, that they don't want any kind of problem with the Muslim nations or the Muslim people.
right. So um, they need to be concerned about that, right? And I was reading an article today on how I think some of the British lawmakers were okay with Israel's bombing of like the refugee camps and other
Yeah.
places. I was like, okay, all right. And I think we're gonna get into the like what's going to happen here in the United States a little bit later on when it comes to these terrorist attacks, and we'll jump back onto that because that's really big.
Okay.
What these lawmakers are saying and how they're going to support Israel. And I'm going to show you how that eventually is going to backfire in their face.
Okay. All right. Let me get to this here. Uh, Spokesman for the Houthis in Yemen, Yahya Sari, has announced that the terrorist organization has launched a large scale drone attack against Israel within the last few hours and that a number of the drones reached their targets. He further stated they will continue the campaign against Israel until they halt their aggressive actions against the Palestinian people. And just a few minutes ago, I talked about um, allegedly dawn on Friday is the drop dead deadline for Israel to stop or um, or the axis of resistance is going to get involved.
Well, the axis of resistance is going to get involved because Israel's not going to stop. So, um, you know, uh, like I said, this is all bad. I told you that once they
I know.
called for that. Once Khalid Mashal called for that global jihad and that day of rage, I was
Yeah.
like, this is all bad right here. Um, and like I said, that Friday was the kickoff. Right now, it's just going to continue. It's just going to ramp up, and this right here is just a continuation of this. You see?
Yeah. So the axis of resistance is supposedly Syria, Lebanon, Hamas, of course, the Houthis, the and the Iraqi Shiite militias.
Yeah. So they're pretty much going to be targeting the Iraqi Shiite militias, of course, going to be targeting um, our troops in Syria and Iraq. I mean, they've been doing that anyway, so we already
Right,
know what
right,
it's about.
right.
The Houthi rebels so far they've been shooting the missiles into Israel. Okay, got it. But what else? Who knows if they're actually going to be sending fighters to to join Hamas? You see,
Hmm.
we don't know that. Of course, Hezbollah is going to be sending fighters, and Iran's going to be sending IRGC fighters to assist Hezbollah and Hamas with the fighting. You see, but then knowing
If
that,
the Iranian Republican Guard get involved, then that means Iran's involved.
yeah, of course,
I mean, directly
right, right,
involved.
directly, exactly, exactly. So, um, but then you also have to be worried about the attacks that are going to occur here in the United States. That's that's really big because I don't know if you heard Al Qaeda,
Yeah.
um,
The
ISIS.
government warning.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
I I kind of told us I kind of told the audience about this. What the day of rage, what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, that you're going to have Hamas, Hezbollah, and AQ. They're going to be launching attacks here within the United States. Okay, and they're not going to be very nice. Okay, and this
Yeah.
is the reason. This is the reason why they're not. It's not going to be nice. All those civilian casualties that the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians, like bombing the refugee camp, you
Hmm.
see,
Yeah.
um, bombing the hospitals, killing innocent, children and women and the doctors. And you remember I talked to you in your audience about Muslim Arabic culture, and I say this phrase frequently, or I've said it, I think, multiple times. I talk about align balign with sin wa bali Islam. And it goes back to an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay. Now, keep in mind that there have been over 6,000 Palestinians killed, right? From these
Hmm.
airstrikes and whatever else. that those airstrikes are going to be kicked back to us here in the United States, okay, in the forms of terrorist attacks, schools, okay, Jewish synagogues, Jewish community centers, Jewish preschools. Anything that's Jewish related is now a target.
Until we
Okay.
get directly involved, and then once the United States is directly involved, then it's every place in the United States that's a potential soft target. At the
Right,
moment, Jewish communities really need heads on swivels.
right. But not only that, because we are supporting them, and you just said something about Hakeem Jeffries saying, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, we're definitely supporting Israel on this." And I'm like, "All right, dude, you might want to like change that because um, they're going to start target. Don't think that for 1 minute that it's just going to stop maybe with the civilian populace. They might start targeting politicians as well. You see, nothing's off the table." And see, that's what people fail to understand when it comes to this. Okay, and I said, it's going to be the civilian populace, but not only that, it's also going to start maybe with some of these politicians. Okay, because they're open targets too. They're
Absolutely.
really, you
Yeah.
know. So,
And
um,
and while terrorism is an incredibly valuable tool, I've got another story up here. This one's from the Telegraph. Iran urges Islamic governments to stop oil and food exports to Israel. Um, when this becomes stopping oil to the world, specifically us, um, that is a tool of war, um, as we have used against Russia and are trying to currently. And speaking of Russia, you talked about um, the hospitals and the mosques and the um, uh, refugee camp that have been hit by Israel that we know about. Um, and Russia did the same thing in Ukraine,
mhm,
especially early on. They targeted the hospitals, the schools. They destroyed almost all of the schools and um, and churches.
right.
Talk about targeting a little bit.
All
Why
right.
it
So,
matters.
okay. So in on this front, where um, the Israelis have targeted synagogues. Okay, they've targeted churches or places of worship. We'll just call them places of worship, hospitals, refugee camps. These are pretty much known as safe havens. Okay, these are just places that you just don't hit. But if you're going to try to eliminate a group of people, then it really doesn't matter. You see, it does all those places that are like off limits become targets. Okay, because your so-called enemy is there. You see, and
And
unless
Israel announced early that we're not going to be abiding by the rules of war.
right the rules of land warfare, all right, or the law or the rule
Hmm.
of I can't I'm having a brain fart right now, but they're not going to abide by the rules of law. All right,
Right.
the rule of law.
There's no set rules of engagement
Right,
on how,
right,
and
and they're
and
just
so anybody's vulnerable. Everything is vulnerable, and that leads. I mean, you only do that when you're wanting to wipe the entire thing out.
right.
Am I wrong?
That's correct. So, uh, um, the, you have to um, understand once again what the Zionist ideology is. Okay. And if you understand that, then understand that everything that they're saying goes back to that ideology. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be any surprise that you're seeing Netanyahu doing what he's doing. And I spoke about this earlier about how the Likud party was just an offshoot of the Irgun, which was a terrorist organization, which became a political party.
Right.
Mhm. And then, like I said, the Likud party is just an offshoot of that. So the ideology continues with the Likud party, with
And the
them
Likud party's where, Benjamin Netanyahu came out of.
exactly. Does that make sense? I'm trying to make
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
timeline to where people can understand why are they doing that, and then and this is the reason why. You see
And Israel, the nation of Israel for Israelis only.
exactly for Zionist, you can call them Zionist Jews or whatever you want, but it's going to be a completely Jewish state.
Okay. That's what we allege, or that's what we suspect the plan might be, or that's what we're seeing the plan could be lead to. That's what the squad, these members of, Democratic Congress said, that Israel trying to commit genocide. By Hakeem Jeffries telling them, "Don't talk about that." Um, that, in your opinion, firmly shows that the United States, that Congress has been instructed that United States is on the side of Israel totally.
110%.
Okay,
110%. We listen. We are not going to abandon Israel at all. Let you know that right now.
okay.
It's not going to happen.
We are going to abandon Ukraine eventually.
Yeah, we'll abandon them. It's gonna be like it's just gonna dwindle off. Okay, so um, that's we're like I said, right now they're splitting the money, but eventually it's gonna dwindle off to where Israel is gonna be getting more than Ukraine. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it might start off as okay. Um, right now it might be 60-40. Okay, like Ukraine's getting 60, Israel's getting 40, but then it's going to go 50-50, and then it's going to switch from 60-40 to 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. You see,
yeah.
to where
Because right now the House is trying to pass an Israel only aid bill,
yeah,
not even mentioning Ukraine.
you see,
And the Senate is saying, we can't abandon Ukraine.
right,
Um,
right,
so yeah, I mean, the pieces are in place for plays to be made.
right. But I was trying to say the law of land warfare. So that's
Yes,
what I was trying to say. I couldn't get it out, but that's exactly what I was talking about, and talking about the civilian casualties. And I'm just like, all right, look, dude, you just bombed a refugee camp. Okay, five
yeah,
five,
killing
five strikes. With five
right,
bombs, right? Like
5 bombs. Yeah,
like how do you justify that for two or three terrorists and you killed maybe what 100 people? Come
no,
on.
they're Al Jazeera said between 4 and 500.
All right, so even if you do the cost benefit analysis on that, all right, best bang for your buck. No military is gonna drop five bombs for maybe four or five terrorists when you know you got 100 or 150 civilians around. Like that makes absolutely no sense. But what
If you're just going after one or two terrorists, don't you send like a special forces unit
yeah, I
just to
mean, but the point,
eliminate those two people?
but yeah, that's one way. But the other thing is this. This once again goes back to what Israel's end state is to get rid of the Palestinians. And the
Okay,
story right there.
all right. I got this article up. Latin America's leftist leaders have recalled Israel's ambassadors over its war with Hamas. So we've talked about Brazil being part of BRICS, and a lot of Latin America is going to um, follow Brazil into that uh, what is eventually going to become a military um, coalition against the West coalition.
Right. Well, Bolivia has cut ties with Israel. Are you aware of
Right.
that, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Latin American. I'll have to check and see what country specifically um, did this because I'm not too familiar with about this, so I'm not going to talk about it. But
Okay. That's
if
fine. I was just
um,
letting people know the whole world is battle lines are being drawn all around the world.
oh yeah,
Which of these alignments are you going to be in? Which of these um, is your allegiance going to be with NATO in the West, or is your allegiance going to be with BRICS?
yeah. Well, right now you see who controls the oil, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, all the BRICS,
BRICS.
all BRICS
Yeah,
countries, right? So,
yeah.
um, like I said, you know, if Saudi Arabia decides not to give the United States any more oil and Iran, man, we are done. You hear me? We're
Yeah,
done. And
yeah.
then top it off with terrorist attacks. Sheesh, boy, oh boy. You want to talk about a mess? This is the biggest mess you have ever seen in your entire life. It's coming up right now. I'm telling you.
Okay. I want to talk about a couple other things here. After I want to talk about what I've got up at the moment. Saudi Arabia's armed forces put on full combat readiness. What's that tell you?
Well, I know the Saudis aren't the best fighters. All right. So,
Otherwise, they wouldn't need us.
right, you see, we pretty much do the work for Saudi. And then we pretty much do the work for Arabs anyway. You know, the Arabs are not like known as like the big bad fighters. Why
I-
isn't that?
Iran, Iran is Persian, by the way, right?
Yes, yes, they are Persians.
There's a
Um,
difference.
yeah, yeah. So
You
even
get
even
up,
when I
you get into the Persians, and you get into the Turks, um, and they're legendary fighters. The Arabs, not so much.
right, yeah, the Arabs aren't really known to be like fighters. Like we do a lot of stuff for them, so they don't have to fight. They just have so much money. You're like, here, go handle
Right?
this,
Yeah,
and okay, we'll do it.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
um, yeah, that so go go go. Let's go back to Iran. All right,
okay, all right.
and remember the reason the United States kind of wants to get rid of Iran to a certain extent. They want a pro-democratic Western style government, right? That's
Hmm.
that's what the United States has been saying for like the longest time. But and I'm gonna tell your audience this, and I think I brought this up last time. They already had that, and the United States and Britain ruined it with Mossadegh. You see, they had that pro-democratic government, the pro-democracy. Everything was fine. You see, except it was because of the oil that British Petroleum (BP) and the British government and United States government set up a coup and overthrew the government of Iran. And see, there was nothing wrong with that. But you see, this is something that we want now, but yet we had it. You see,
Right. Yeah,
we had it, and there was
yeah.
nothing wrong with it. Then they put in the Shah of Iran. That failed, and then next thing you know, you have the Islamic Revolution. You see,
Right. Yeah.
and now you're pissed off. Saying, "Well, we want this to happen." Like you screwed it up. You did this.
And we look at it as, oh my gosh, that was all the way back in the 1970s. That's, and to them that's a drop in the bucket. That's just time for everything to catch fire, is all that
Right,
is. As
right,
50 years is nothing.
right. And it's and like I told you, a lot of times I don't think we think things out completely before we do them. All right. Like, okay, we
Hmm.
want the oil. Okay. Well, right now are we still getting oil from Iran? Are we currently?
Probably.
Yeah. But if now somebody I heard on this on one of these television stations about, yeah, well, we should strike Iran and do this. And I'm just like, do you realize like there's gonna be a counter to this? Do you think they're
Yeah.
just gonna let do you just think like they're just gonna we're just gonna hit them and that's gonna be it?
A
There's
lot
gonna be
of people, Chris, a lot of people in America have that opinion that, oh, we're America. All we have to do is just, we just show up and drop some bombs and you all are going to surrender.
yeah, wrong. Wrong. Like whoever thinks like that, they're straight off the rocker. Okay. You
Yeah.
have Russia backing this group. All right. You have Syria and you have like Hezbollah, you have the Iraqis, the Shia group
Hezbollah's Lebanon, which is right here. Here's
right?
Syria. Here's the Iraqis. Here's Jordan, and here's Israel. Jordan is not going to hamper. Not that the Iraqis would need to go through Jordan, but I wouldn't think Jordan would hamper um any Muslim attempt to get to Israel, would they?
I don't think so. I
I
don't
don't
think so.
either.
So
I don't
so
either.
so so back on the strike on Iran. Do you not think for 1 minute that our troops would get decimated after something like that from
Absolutely.
from the Iraqi Shia groups, and then just drone strikes, and then stuff from Syria coming over? Come on, use your brain. There's a
We've
counter to
got
all this.
Yes, and as I've said many times, everything that is happening is just retribution for something that's already happened. And if you think that we just strike Iran and that's all there is to it, that there's not going to be any retribution, um, but there are people that think that way.
Yeah, well, they're in for a very rude awakening. I hate to break it to you.
Um, okay, we've got Taiwan over here. We've got China announcing today that they are in the process of conducting military operations around surrounding Taiwan.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's in place.
they're screwing with the U.S. to see what they're going to do. You see,
We've got,
because they know they got their hands full. You
right, we've
see,
got our hands full.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So guess what? They're going to start messing with us to see our response, to see what we're going to do. And I bet you any money, North Korea is going to start some stuff too. All right, once China starts something, I bet you any money. A little bit later on after that, North Korea is going to start something. That
If
don't
North
think
Korea
that
doesn't first.
right. But here's the thing: don't think for 1 minute that all that like they haven't all talked about
Oh,
this
of
stuff.
course. And
You
and
know?
that's my thing. You know, that's my thing. This is beginning to look like it could be a synchronized it could be a synchronized thing. Everything goes off at once. So,
Right.
Friday, all the Muslim, the axis of resistance, whoever that may be, Friday they suddenly launch an attack on Israel. At the same time, China launches an attack on Taiwan. At the same time, Russia launches an attack on Poland or the Baltics or both, and we're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what's going. We're going to be overwhelmed. We're going to know. We're not going to know what to do. I mean, we're going to know what to do, but they'll be like, man, we're getting hit from everywhere now. Like, how do we handle it?
Okay, I
You
just
see?
want to show you something so that I'm not just talking out of my wazoo. This is Forte 11, and I covered Forte 11, and I've shown people all the way back to the beginning of the Iraqi, or I'm sorry, the beginning of the Ukrainian Russian war. Forte 11 flying over the Black Sea, um, monitoring the sea on an almost constant basis. Well, last night for the first time, and you told me a long time ago, you said you see patterns, and when you see a variant in that pattern, you should be aware of it.
Hmm.
Well, again, I've seen Forte 11 hundreds of times over the Black Sea. For the first time ever last night, it was going back and forth over the border of Poland and Belarus. And right here's the Milwaukee Gap, that this part of this oblast of Russia is is basically cut off from Mother Russia through Belarus, through Lithuania, and through Poland. And the reason I say Russia's basically putting thousands of troops in this area right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And that's why I'm saying they've all talked, and the possibility that everybody launches at once. Um, I don't think we can totally discount that.
No, we can't. But we can't discount it, right? So we'll just wait and see what happens. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see what happens with this whole thing on Friday. All right.
Right.
And
Right.
this thing on Friday is gonna tell us a whole lot about
Right.
what's getting ready to happen here later on with Russia and China and North Korea. Because I have that I guess I have that feeling, okay, that China's going to start some stuff after. I mean, it might take a little bit, but not a whole lot of time. But China's going to start some stuff with with Taiwan, and then we're going to have to respond to that. And like I said, we can handle possibly two fronts at one time. Possibly. There's nowhere in the world we're doing three. And I told you we're gonna have to drop one of them, and that one's gonna be Ukraine. So Ukraine's just gonna be out. That's
And
just
if North Korea started something, we're actually talking four, right?
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
North Korea and South Korea is going to be a total separate engagement from China, Taiwan.
Yep. Sure will be.
Okay, and here's what I've got up on the screen right now. North Korea closes multiple embassies around the world. This came in 18 hours ago.
All right. So I think they're giving the impression that they're getting ready to start something. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah. The
impression.
indicators.
Yeah, that's they're giving indicators, impressions that they're getting ready to start something. It might be a psychological operation. Okay. It could be
But
that.
I mean, at least 18 countries around the world
Your ambassadors.
pulling your embassies.
Yeah, calling your
That's
yeah. So we'll see. What their end state is, but like I said, it could be just a psychological operation, just to see what we're gonna do. Like, why'd you shut down your embassies? Or what are you planning?
yeah.
But our intel should be strong on that anyway. You know, um,
I
uh,
hope so.
it's supposed to be.
Hamas is saying North Korea helped them with the attack October 7th.
In what way? Logistically or
Uh,
what?
Technology and weaponry.
Yeah, yeah, weapons. Yeah, I totally believe the weapons. And you said technology. All right.
Yeah, I
No,
don't know what that means.
yeah. Um,
As you know,
I'm sure they
the
gave.
reputation
Go ahead.
the reputation of North Korean technology hasn't been the greatest, yet they seem to have some incredible hackers.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I mean, but
So, how much of that reputation is propaganda, and they've really got some stuff.
yeah, legitimate stuff. Right.
Yeah,
So I'm that's not like my area of operation. So
right.
I'm kind of like speculating on like that whole North
Yeah,
Korea thing. Um, but this whole CENTCOM thing, I can definitely talk to you about all day. So that's
okay.
the whole CENTCOM thing is like Israel The Middle
Yeah.
East. And I could talk to you about that all day. But the whole that's like Indo PA calm. I'm not too sharp on that. I'll be totally honest.
Right. I'm just putting a big picture together for
Right.
people
Exactly.
of what's
Right.
going. Okay, and one final thing I want you to comment on.
Mhm.
Um, Joe Biden sends a War Powers Act to Congress.
Okay. So what do you want me to comment on this? Because like that's it's big. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah, yeah. I want the actually I wanted the people to hear that it's big.
yeah. So the whole War Powers Act thing. Let me give me a couple seconds
Okay.
um to get my get my thoughts together because I just don't want
Yeah.
to say something stupid. Um, uh,
Basically what I've said is that he's sending this to Congress, that it's telling Congress, I'm not going to come to you at this time to have Congress declare
right,
war on a
right,
specific country. I'm
right,
going
right.
to be
He
able
can
to
do it
do
himself. He can
everything.
do it himself. He can do it himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, they and see, he's just cutting out like the middleman, and he's gonna do it himself.
Yeah, and
So
this is to me this is a huge indicator to get ready for war.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
if that's not a big enough indicator, German defense minister says, "quote become ready for war." End quote. So
Yeah. So like I said, this we're kind of like in a very sticky situation. All right, we don't want to really declare war on like those people in the Middle East. You don't want to do that. That's you've seen what has happened to us in Iraq and Afghanistan, okay, and in Syria. Why would you do the same thing over again? Don't. We've learned. We've had to learn. All right. And yes, they do have. I mean, yes, we do have conventionally the best military in the world, hands down. But
absolutely, one on one, we can go against anybody
right, okay,
and win.
right. But it's difficult,
But that's not where we're at.
right? So the thing, yeah, one on one, but it's not one on one anymore. You see,
Right.
it's one on two, on three, on four, and people that control our oil. You see, so
Mhm.
it's like four or five on one, and and
Yeah.
and 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 the one and two, or let's say like it's like Russia. Russia's got a whole bunch of oil. Uh, uh, Iran's got a whole bunch of oil. Saudi's got a whole bunch of oil. Right now, what happens? They pull that oil. Like I told you, we're done. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
And
I mean, so
one on one, we're the greatest in the world, but they're getting enough countries together to vote us off the island.
and I told you, and that was the whole thing, right? With the BRICS, I was like, oh, they're trying to get rid of us, economically, but that's what BRICS is about. It is about the
Right.
economics,
Yeah.
and I said, oh, this is the problem for the United States. And remember
Yeah.
many times I said, hey, look, man, you need to be making friends, okay? You need to be making friends. We make enemies by the stupid stuff we do to other with other countries. I'm like who's making these decisions?
Yeah, we do some insensitive things, you know.
And,
We do
and
some culturally insensitive things that, and that's just a minute amount of the the reason the rest of the world hates us.
yeah, oh, Bear, I did want to touch on something real quick. Remember you asked me the other day about the Egyptian thing going to the Sinai
Uh
Desert?
huh. Yeah.
Um, I want to apologize to the audience because I wasn't thinking properly about that.
Oh, I just kinda sprung it on you too,
Yeah.
so,
So
you know.
I wasn't even. I want to apologize to the audience because I wasn't thinking properly about that. And Barry asked, what do you think about, taking those the refugees and the Palestinians to the Sinai Desert? Israel's thinking about pushing them in the Sinai Desert, and I thought
Right.
about yesterday. I was like, oh, wait a second, that's an act of war. That's an invasion into another country. That's an act of war.
Yeah,
Egypt is not
yeah,
going for that, people, at all. But here's the thing: we talk about, yeah, putting them in the Negev Desert, but what's the Negev Desert? That's Israel, and once again, that's going
right.
going against, you
That
know,
that's
that-
going against the Zionist idea, if that's the idea they're expounding upon,
right. So
of Israel for Israelis only. Putting in the Negev is not gonna solve that.
yeah, so the thing about that is here, okay, what's going to happen to them? Are you going to wipe these people out? Are you going to displace them to a different country? What's going to happen? And I think what I think is getting ready to happen. I think they're going to wipe these people out. That I really think so. And and you do see what's going on the West Bank right now, right?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So even in the
Yeah,
West Bank, um, they're starting to arrest members of the Fatah party, which is the PLO, right? Now, Blinken has come out and said that he wants the PLO or the Fatah party to actually start running Gaza again. But take a guess who actually started Hamas? The Israeli government.
the
The Israeli government. They're the ones that kind of wanted Hamas to go against the Fatah party. You do know that, right?
much much like we supported the Taliban,
Right.
um,
And
in
in the
wanting
80s.
them to go against Russia, and then all of a sudden, they're our biggest enemy.
You see? You see?
Yeah, it's
So
the same.
so they wanted Hamas in there to get rid of the Fatah party to split. They see they don't want a two-state solution. They never have. Even though they say they did, they don't. Right? So this is what do we do? Divide and conquer. You see? It hasn't changed. They divided and conquered. They got this group and that group. Now you got the Palestinian Authority. Where are they at? West Bank. Where's Hamas and Gaza? You see, one's secular, one's the violent. Well, the Islamic resistance movement. You see,
Right. Mhm.
so and now
You got the 2 groups separate, and you're gradually chipping away at both groups at the same time. They're going into Jenin in the, West Bank. I had that on earlier,
yep.
and of course, we know what they're doing to Gaza. Did you see were you on here, when I showed the map of the penetration the Israelis have made?
No, I missed that.
Let me pop that back up here real quick. It was in my Twitter scroll, and here it is. Um, sorry, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, but here it is. I'll pop it up on the screen. Israel's advances in Gaza continue, and they. I'm sure they're at the shoreline by now. Here in the central region, they're coming in from the northeastern part and down the coast in the west, on the border.
Hmm.
And the blue area is what they've um, occupied thus far. So when you're talking about they cut the the two main groups of leaders in half by putting the Fatah in the West Bank and putting Hamas in Gaza.
Hmm.
They're cutting Gaza in half at the moment.
Right, right, from north to the south. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and once they occupy all of this, then they turn to the south.
Yep.
and start from here, start basically probably from the river down.
Right.
So
But they've been bombing the North and the South. You see, and they're
yes,
saying,
they
oh,
have. Yes,
so they're saying, well, we're going to push you to the South, but you're still bombing in the South. So
right.
so like, where are we going? Well, we're going in the middle. We're going to bomb there too. you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They're bombing everywhere.
right. So it's a no-win situation for the Palestinians. It really is. And like I said, you can never get rid of Hamas because it's the ideology behind Hamas, right? And they're saying, we want to get rid of Israel or the Zionist state of Israel, and the ideology behind Zionism is what to get rid of the Palestinians, right? So who's going to win, right? I want to get rid of you. You want to get rid of me, But here's the thing: you got all the rest of these Muslim countries surrounding Israel. Okay,
Yeah,
it's a little bit different from 67 and 73, right?
it is. It's much different.
Right.
67 and 73 wars. Yeah,
So there's a lot more technology that the Arabs have that, of course, I mean, it was 73 and 67, so like there was whole bunch of technology back then. But now the Arabs have a whole lot more technology, right? They have better weapons than back in the day, so they can inflict a lot more damage. And like I said, they can do a lot of stuff here inside the United States. So the United States
and we
can
have to
order,
always remind everybody of that multiple times.
yeah,
You know,
and
we're not w- we're not trying to freak anybody out or anything. At the moment, the Jewish communities will be targets here
all
in this
day,
country.
all day long. And I told you the reason why, I was talking about those targets, just for the simple fact that Israel is hitting those civilians, like the refugee camps, the churches, the synagogues, whatever. Right? Those are innocent people there, and they're justifying it. Well, we had a terrorist here, and we had a terrorist there. We know this and we know that, and I'm just like, all right, look, um, um, true, this is what you're saying, but it's the preponderance. You see, like, you don't drop 6 or 7 bombs on a place that's got maybe, where you think there's maybe 2 or 3 terrorists, when you have maybe 2 or 300 people, innocent civilians there. You don't do that. Okay,
It's incredibly bad optics.
it's horrible optics, and if you want to turn the whole world against you, that's how you're gonna do it. And then so I see, Mama Red said, difference is Muslims want rid of us all. Jewish don't. The Muslims don't want to get rid of like us at all. It has nothing to do with us, but it has everything to do with the support of the Zionist state of Israel. You see, Muslims don't hate Americans. I can tell you this right now. As many countries as I've been in, the Muslims have been the most hospitable people ever, ever. While I'm in the UAE, while I'm in Afghanistan, while I'm in Nigeria, while I'm in Mali, while I'm in France, I've never had any problem with any Muslim person whatsoever. So I don't want to hear that, you know, the Muslims are this and they're that. I found them to be very uprighteous and very moral people. That's my experience. That's just my
I've
experience.
always found him. I've always found him to be yes, incredibly hospitable,
Yeah,
giving you gifts when you come to visit them,
right. I mean,
and I feel bad for not bringing a gift and for, not even thinking of I should bring a gift.
right, but
Um,
that's just been my experience with them. Okay. Um,
but Chris, the media is going to pound it in that, you know, Israel good, Muslims bad.
that's not even true. That's not even true.
The
Um,
media is going to be the media is going to be pushing that
yes,
heavy.
and see, and this is where the brainwashing comes in. Okay, if you don't have those experiences, and like say for instance, you're stuck in some place like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or or um, Swampwater,
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Swampwater, Mississippi, you know,
Yeah.
somewhere like that that doesn't have a whole lot of um, culture, a whole lot of like a whole lot of ethnicities or a whole different bunch of races. It's just maybe black and white. So of course you're gonna believe that. You see, of course you're gonna believe that. So me being from like the Washington D.C. the metropolitan Washington D.C. area, the DMV, right?
Mhm.
It's an international community. You see, it's international. So you're dealing with everyone. You see, you're dealing with everyone. And see,
Yeah.
it's because of people's lack of exposure. That's why the media can come in and brainwash you. But if you're worldly like I am and have seen and been all over the world and done different things with different groups of people, you're not gonna even begin to tell me that because I know better.
It's all based on fear and ignorance.
Yes,
That's how that's how um, misinformation gets motivated.
that's the truth. That's the truth. So,
All right, man. One last thing before we close, because we're not going to be on until Friday. Friday night at 9 p.m. We'll be back on. Um, they're calling for allegedly dawn on Friday. Does dawn on Friday bring something major, or is that just okay? There's no going back now that we've passed dawn on Friday.
right. So once Friday comes, like whatever part like of the world you're in, like I'm here on the East Coast, it'll be like 6 a.m. All right. I think Israel's 8.5 hours ahead of us. I think that's what it is. So uh maybe 7:30. So um to three.
It
Yeah, yes, it'll be like 7 to 3. We'll know exactly what's going on. 7 o'clock a.m., 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll know exactly what's going on. And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure since the Houthi rebels jumped in, that Hezbollah and Iran and the axis of resistance are all going to come together. Watch.
Okay. All right. We'll see you Friday night, man.
Will do. I'll talk to you.
All right. Thank
All right
you
now.
as always.
Okay, you take care, Barry. I'll talk to you Friday.
You, all right. Okay. A lot of indicators. Um, President Biden telling Congress that he's going to be using the War Powers Act. North Korea shutting down embassies. China announcing they're surrounding Taiwan. We've got surveillance drones flying for the first time ever extensively on the Polish border, both in the central part of Poland and to their northern border. Um, the Milwaukee Gap, that little area between um, the Russian um, the Russian territory and Belarus, that is actually cut off because of the countries of Lithuania and Poland. So, as Chris said, we will know Friday night if something happens. And if they have talked and it is coordinated, don't be surprised if something happens in Israel. And the same time it happens in Israel, it's going to be happening in Poland, the Baltics, or both, and in Taiwan, and possibly in North Korea, just because all the pieces are in place. So, again, this is one of those episodes that a lot of, a lot of serious stuff, a lot of things that are not going to be talked about on a lot of other locations. So, if you see the value in what we're doing, please support the show if you would. Cash App is $ American Doofus, all one word. If you'd like to contact me, americandufus@gmail.com, and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the share if you would. Kind of get the message out so that people know that there's a place where um, we try to stay in the middle and we just objectively analyze what we see going on. And that's what we do here. And we'll do it again Friday night at 9 p.m. Thanks for being here.